all I'm saying is, I am emotionally broken and scarred by what I saw, what I went through. And you know, when you were at that church, you were taught to master the art of lying. You were taught to master the art of manipulation. So you are taught the art on how to manage and package yourself well. So you learn the art, the manipulation and lying, and it's the program of the day.
Let's go to TB Joshua.
Shalom everyone, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening from. So today I want to reply to Wiseman Harry, because there's this video that has been trending some few days now due to the BBC report on the late prophet TB Joshua, which I couldn't stay without responding. So my response go to that Wiseman Harry, and others who are thinking that the name of Prophet TB Joshua is being blasphemed. So it's very simple. I will just have like 6-7 questions to ask. When we have a clear response to these questions, then we'll be able to situate ourselves. I just want to make things clear. In the first place, Wiseman Harry, we respect you a lot and we love you also, but we have some questions we need to ask. But before we start asking these questions, we want to say, in the video you made just a few days ago, you said Judas betrayed Jesus. We say yes.
So we all know that Jesus had 12 disciples, but not all of them make it, right? Some of them make it, some of them they failed. And one of them betrayed him. One of them who was with him, who saw all the miracles, who saw all the healings, the deliverance, the prophecies that Jesus gave, which was accurate. One of them eventually decided to go and betray, to go and collect money. Let somebody say money. Yeah.
Jesus wasn't surprised about this betrayal because he knew who Judas was even from the beginning. That you know very well. You should understand that Jesus said, I choose 12 of you and one of you is a traitor or a demon. So Jesus knew very well who Judas was from the beginning. With that said, we go to the second part, which is it's a series of questions that you need to answer for us. I know it's not easy because many people have been trying to do some kind of damage control, which, because people of God they have to know the truth. They have to know exactly where they are worshiping. So I think what I just said shows clearly that some of us, like some of these our prophets and pastors, they hardly read the Bible. Even they'll just read one Bible verse and then they would want to, from the one Bible verse, they will speak for 4, 5, 6 hours just after reading 1 or 2 Bible verses. I don't think this is appropriate. Secondly, we think that most people doing video for, like you, they are people who are leading a church, a congregation. What do you expect them to say? Of course, they would want to protect their interest by defending the late prophet TB Joshua. So that is the second thing. The third thing, if the late prophet TB Joshua was what you say he was, why did most of you leave the church then to establish your own congregations? Because if you have a spiritual father and you say he's in the truth, he's doing the right thing, he has that anointing on him, he's a true prophet, then you have to be with him. You don't have to leave him to go and open your own congregation or your own church, as others have done. I'm not saying you did that, I said as others have done. I don't want to call names, you know them better than me, and we know them too. Fourth, how can most of the disciples, like Johnson, Brother Paul, is it Ajoke who is even, let's say, the alleged daughter for now, because we know the story, and others, how would they come up after 10, 15, 20, 25 years for some of staying with Prophet TB Joshua, 25 years with someone, and you come out and you say an opposite thing against him? For what interest? What interest do they have lying on the late prophet TB Joshua? They are just saying what they went through. I think that is what they are trying to tell us. They don't want to tarnish anyone. They even want to save souls by telling us the truth of what they went through, what was really happening behind the scenes. We never knew. We don't know. They knew more than us. We just hear from what they say. And we believe what they say like 60-70% for some few reasons. The first reason that I would give is what my Bible tells me is very simple. The left hand doesn't have to know what the right hand is giving. But what we see is the opposite. When you're giving in your church, there's a camera showing the entire world what that person is receiving. Is that biblical? We say no, it's not biblical. So, another thing why we believe what they say, Christ sent out the disciples to go and preach and baptize people. But we hardly see baptism going on in your churches. Why? Because when you bring souls to Christ, the first thing should be baptism. When someone believes in Christ, the first thing he should go through is the true baptism. And the baptism has to start with the baptism of water. In the name of Jesus Christ, you do the opposite. You don't even, I think most of you don't even baptize. You just put forward 1-2 verses, and the rest of the time you talk about miracles, talk about testimonies, talk about things that have nothing to do with baptism or following up with discipleship. Another point I'll bring up is very simple. If all is well, as you said, if all is going on well, if all went well, why was the SCOAN closed for so long before Madam Evelyn was chosen to replace the prophet, the late prophet? Don't you think fishy things were going on? We can't close the house of God because one person died. It doesn't happen like that. So we are asking questions, we need answers. Another point, we saw the building behind collapsed on so many people, and over 120 people died. The prophet could see people's sicknesses, people's ailments. He could see people's private things, but he didn't see the church collapsing, no matter what happened. Whether it was a planned destruction or it was a plan so whatsoever, he couldn't see that. People lost their lives, more than 100. To add to that, there was no, I think the case just died down. Why? We've been asking questions also, just as Sister Bisola said. We listened to her talking, we listened to her talk, we watched her video, and the late prophet didn't attend the mother's burial. Just imagine your mother, someone who gave birth to you, brought you to earth. No matter what, people could complain of maybe bureaucracy problems, financial problems. That is why they didn't attend their mother's burial, or some other problems. But the late prophet had everything. He could even take a private jet, attend and go back to where he was. Why wasn't he present? Is there something you're hiding from us? Even the other South African who talked about sexual cases, the rape and everything that happened, how many years she stayed there? She went through all those things.
There were relationships that were happening, but they were unspoken. Do you understand? So we went back to Nigeria, continued staying in Nigeria. Now, the most weirdest part is that when you're sick as a disciple, you don't get to go to prayer line. We have our own private doctor and clinic within the synagogue at the back. And
so everyone else
goes to prayer.
The whole world must come for healing.
Yes.
But when disciples are sick,
no,
they've got a private doctor.
Yeah.
Now see that.
And the most amazing thing for me was, I know people will say, and I'm sure people are saying, yeah, she's a bitch, she's having sex. Look, I was in church, and if God was there, I was supposed to be picked out and say, let's deliver you from spirit of lust, which I never was. So I remember at synagogue, and then I had an abortion at the synagogue.
How did it happen? Who did you sleep with?
I was sleeping with one of the camera guys, you know, and I also slept with Daniel Wiseman. He's a wise man now.
Wiseman Daniel.
His name is Daniel. He's a wise man now. He's Daniel. So I was pregnant.
So hold on. Hold on.
And for me, I remember there was a time, and maybe you'll ask yourself, but where did you sleep with them? Right. If you know synagogue, there are places that nobody knows where the disciples sleep. We've got our own dormitories. And visitors' quarters, most of the time, visitors are not there. So in between thingies, we know our signals. So we go, we do our thing, and we out. So when I discovered I was pregnant, I remember I confided in one of the sisters. I think it was Sister Yetunde or Lamide, someone there. And I told them, this is my situation. I was taken downstairs to the nurse. There's a nurse there in synagogue, and I had an abortion.
How did that happen? How did they perform the abortion?
In the house of God.
In the house of God.
Could she just come out and lie? Another question we are asking. During biblical times, we didn't see so many prophets at a time. There are so many today. One major prophet, two, just everyone is major prophet. So we have like 10,000 major prophets in Africa. And junior prophets are millions. What is going on? We need to know the truth. What is the reality behind what you guys are doing? We could say there was the prophetic school during Elijah's time, but they were all minor prophets. And Elijah was the senior prophet. But why is it that everyone is senior prophet today? No one wants to be junior. And look at the contradictory messages coming out from all these prophets' mouth. So something is not right somewhere. We need to know. Something is not right. Pastors contradicting themselves left and right. Varying messages, different messages, contradictions. Are they really from God? Is God the author of confusion? We say no, God is not the author of confusion. Another point, we also need to know, if you could just tell us humbly, with all respect, how you receive your own call. Because I also remember even the late prophet TB Josua was born as a Muslim. The father was a Muslim. Temitope Balogun Fatai. This is Muslim. Or how did he come out and just say, I have a call from God, and start placing hands on people? Do we just have to believe like this? Something is not adding up. This, another point you should know, these people you say they are lying against the late prophet, I don't really think it's for money, as you say. Why? Because if they want to have a church, they want to have a congregation, they would have even a larger congregation than what you have. That you know very well. If Sister Bisola wants to become a pastor or a preacher or evangelist or whatsoever, and opens a congregation, people will follow. In Nigeria, everything is possible. Everything moves on well. Good, bad, you have followers. Junior prophet, senior prophet, you have followers. Good business, bad business, you have people. Everything works in Nigeria. So I don't think this is really for money. YouTube money is not to become rich for some of us. We want to also pass our own messages. We also want our voice to be heard. One last point. Even Pastor, you call her Pastor Evelyn. I don't know if we read the same Bible, because according to what I read in the Bible, a woman is not allowed to preach in a congregation. She can teach young girls, teach them how to love their husbands, talk to even how to take care of their family, how to take care of the kids. And we know verses, there are so many verses talking on addressing this issue. Titus 2 verse 4. I will read before I close this. 1 Corinthians 14 verse 34 to 37. What does it say? Women should keep quiet in the church meetings. They are not allowed to speak, but they must yield to this rule as the law says. Take note of that point. As the law says. So even during the time of the law, women were called to keep quiet, to keep silent in the church, in the assemblies. So even we have Huda was a prophetess, we have Deborah and all those other prophetesses. They were not preaching in the church. There's a difference between the gift of prophecy or prophesying and prophetic ministry. You should make the difference. You should know the difference. So the woman can have a gift to prophesy. It's normal. She can teach young girls, young children. It's normal. But when it comes to congregation of mixed people, men and women, she's not allowed to preach. I am not saying this, I'm reading from the Bible. Any verse against this is a contradiction, because no other verse will contradict this verse, except you think God is a God of contradiction. No, there's no contradiction in the Bible. It's written black on white. We can also read 1 Timothy 2 verse 12. Let me read for you. A woman should learn in quietness, because when we read 1 Corinthians, people will say Apostle Paul was addressing to the Christians of Corinth. Now, to who was Apostle Paul addressing to? 1 Timothy, which congregation, which church? He's addressing to his spiritual son, Timothy. Timothy in 1 Timothy 2 verse 11 to 12, what does it say? A woman should learn in quietness and full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man. She must be silent. The text calls twice for woman to be quiet, and it does not allow any form of teaching in a mixed congregation. So what is Evelyn doing there? Where did she receive her own call? Men place her there, or God placed her there? So when we talk about God's church, because this, when you read 1 Corinthians, even if you go back to 1 Corinthians 14, go from the beginning, it says, Apostle Paul is addressing to all the churches of the saints. It's not addressing only to the Corinthians. This is where you guys have mixed up everything. Read from the beginning, from verse 1. It's Apostle Paul is not saying he's addressing to the Christians of Corinth. He's addressing to all the churches of the saints. So if you know your church is of the saints, you should respect this verse. You will tell me about the judge, Deborah. Deborah was a judge. Yes, she was judging the Israelites. Where was she based? Not in the church, not in the temple. She was based under the tree, Deborah. And that was where children of Israel went to meet her for judgment, not for preaching. The word is clear. Judgment is different from preaching. Do not mix up things. Another person wrote me and said that, what about Jesus who sent the women to evangelize to the... No. Do you evangelize a brother? You don't evangelize a brother in Christ. He's already in Christ. How do you evangelize him again? You guys, I don't know if we are reading the same Bible. The resurrected Jesus commissioned the women, go and tell my brothers, go and tell the 11 to meet me in Galilee. I think we all know that verse. And when the 11 met him in Galilee, what was their mission? He sent them now to the world to go and preach and baptize people, convert people, baptize them. There was no woman there when he was commissioning his 11 to go and make disciples of all nations. But to the women, he sent them to his brothers to meet him. You can send a lady in church, of course, or in the congregation. You can send a woman, you can commission her to go and call someone. Is that preaching? Now, when that person comes, you now tell him, you give him now the order, go and preach to the world. They are two different things, not related at all. So do not mix up things. I don't know if we are reading the same Bible. And that is, I'm not judging, I'm just saying that anyone who's going against these rules knows nothing about our faith. You guys have missed everything. Everything. You need to come back, go back, read the Bible, what verbatim, understand what is written there. And to conclude, I would still say what I've been saying. Anyone who is selling oil, water, stickers, better you go and open the shop, do your business, instead of coming and selling those things to the children of God. You read these things in the Bible. You have received freely. Freely you will give. You will give. Why do you have to sell? To the poor mass, they come for miracles. They come because of what they see in the TV, in front of their screens. And when they come, you still collect from them through anointing, water. Why do you sell those things? Water that God gave us free, you sell. What reason? For what reason? Remember when Jesus went into the temple, flock merchants in the house of his father. Why did he do that? Does that not make sense to you? This is to show you that this is not allowed in the house of God, not allowed to sell. Anything is not a market, it's not a shop. You want to become a businessman, open your shop and sell. It's different. That is normal also. Anyone selling those things is fake. Did I say that? It's written in the Bible. You receive freely, freely you will give. Tell me in the comment section what you think. Thank you for listening. God bless you all.